Okay. Putting this together. And in fact, hey, Tiff, could you kill the other video?
Oh yeah, see if I can figure it
We're
out.
so bad at at this. Oh man, we've got to live stream more so that we can get this down because this is just a disaster. Sorry everyone, if for those of you that are just joining, um, we're bad at this whole live stream thing. We just don't do this enough, and bad. Okay. So anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for the weird for rolling with us on the weirdness. Let us know that you can hear us. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know, if the stream's coming through okay, if there's a ton of buffering or stuff. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from. Where are you guys? Um, so let us know where you guys are coming from. We are currently in Idaho. We have been loving it here. Idaho is one of those places that we never growing up in Alabama. Good, thanks, DJ. Growing up in Alabama, we never heard anything about Idaho or anything. We got guys from Kentucky, Tennessee. We never heard anything about Idaho growing up in Alabama, and then we're here, and it's like stunningly beautiful. We love this place. Um, Vic O says I can hear the video, but doesn't sync with your audio. I'm sorry, man. I thought we had good. I thought we had good service here, but maybe it's not as good. Van Diego says I can hear you also looking at a Transit 460 West Yorkshire. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we kind of wanted to talk about today is the Transit and why we chose a Transit for living in full time and for full time travel. It was a big decision. It's going to be a big decision for anyone. When you're looking at a daily driver as well as a vehicle to live in, like that's all the way. Chris says, I can hear you all the way over here in Italy. That's loud. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here, truly, and for dealing with the weirdness. We'll get this live stream down soon. But anyway, we're coming to you here from Idaho, and we're loving our time here. And like I was saying, we're talking about the Transit, and like everyone, we looked at a Sprinter, we looked at the ProMaster, and there are a lot of reasons to like both of those vehicles, but we landed on the Transit, and so for this video, we're really talking about what brought us over, what made the difference, and so that's kind of what we'll get into. So first, we got some dirt bikes going by, and Frankie's gonna bark at them probably. So if you're not familiar, we started with a school bus. It was 32 feet long, and we felt like it was too much space. And if you kind of weighed the amount of space that the bus had that we didn't truly need versus the difficulty, not difficulty, but I guess for the lack of a better term, difficulty in driving, it wasn't really equal. And so we felt like we needed to downsize so that we can move around a little bit more, and we ended up with a Ford Transit. And so I wanted to kind of go over what basically the options that we got in the Transit, because we got the Transit brand new. We're in a 2020 all-wheel drive Ford Transit, and normally, like, we wouldn't have looked at a new vehicle. It's not something we typically would do, but because we got the sale of the bus, which gave us a little bit of money, and we had some savings, that really helped out. And it really, since we were planning on full time for several years, we wanted a new vehicle that we were responsible for from day one. So we were familiar with every oil change, every tire, inflation, every change in tires, etc. Like, we wanted to be fully part of that. And so we went with a new vehicle, and but because we were getting a new vehicle, we decided to build it out to our own specifications. And we really went with a good bit of options to really make things the way we wanted them. We went with a lot of different options to make van life easier. And so far they've worked out really well. So I'll give you guys an idea of the options that we got in our Transit. Pull that up. I've got the window sticker on in my notes. Okay, so we have, of course I have to download it again. Gosh, we're just all over the place. It's been nuts. It's going to be mostly me today, by the way. Tiffany has a deadline that she's working on. She's working really, really hard, so it's going to be me today, but yeah, there she is. Okay, so our Ford Transit is the largest one that they make. So it is the 2020 350 HD high roof extended cargo van. So you remember all those things together. It's the high roof extended. It's literally the largest van that Ford makes. It's a 148-inch wheelbase, and the engine that we have in it is the 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6. And so as far as the options go, we have, let's see. So interior options, let's just get the big stuff out of the way first. So the functional options that we have are, we thought about, all right, what's going to give us the highest ceiling? What's going to give us the most that we can grow into? Hey, Helen! Thanks for being here. What vehicle will give us the highest ceiling and the highest roof to grow into and do more things with when and if we feel like it? So one of the options that the Ford Transit came with were 2 batteries and 2 alternators. So our vehicle has 2 batteries and 2 alternators. Now we're not using those devices just yet. We're not really truly taking a ton of advantage of those 2 things. But we do like knowing we're there, and we are actually taking advantage of the 2 batteries because you know, when you parked somewhere for a while, you're opening doors, lights are coming on. If you leave the lights, you know, the headlights on for any extended period of time, with 2 batteries, we're really not having to worry about that so much. Now, obviously, if we've got headlights on all the time, that can drain 2 batteries, you know, eventually, but we're going to probably notice before that happens, before the batteries get completely drained. And so we haven't had to think about the starter battery running down and having something totally dedicated to starting it back up if we need it. So the 2 batteries, 2 alternators, that kind of gives us a little bit of peace of mind as far as those batteries draining, and it's also giving us the ability to, and we have this option as well, the upfitter package. So we have 2 batteries, 2 alternators, as well as the upfitter package, which includes like a modified wiring harness, as well as, in fact, I can even show you these because I'm on a phone, which was not part of the plan today. Let's see. Wow, guys, amateur hour. Okay, flipping the camera around, you can kind of see our upfitter switches here. So we have 4 auxiliary switches. Those are there to, those are there to, you know, if we needed to add, and we intend to add like a light bar and some other stuff, we can wire straight into the vehicle without having to have them run off the house batteries. They can run off the car batteries. And again, 2 batteries, 2 alternators, they can power them for a long time, even without any, what am I trying to say? You know what I mean? I'm so bad at this. This is so weird. This is so different from like a regular video. All of you people out there that live stream all the time, props, because this is tough. Anyway, feel free to ask questions as we go along. Tio, hey guys, thanks for being here. Glad to see you guys are on the road. But yeah, the upfitter switches are great. We're not using them yet, but we do intend to install light bars and a few other things that we can flip straight from the dash, which is great. Do you know, so Jeff just asked if we know if the batteries will isolate to keep them from running down. So they're, as far as I know, they're wired in parallel. And so it's essentially one really large battery in that case. So I don't think there's any isolation. It's just one much larger one much larger battery. My electrical knowledge, not super great, so I could be totally wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Anyway, we just like that peace of mind. So that was a big deal for us. That's a big high ceiling that we can add a lot of peripherals to and have control of them straight from the car. So that's been great. That's one of the major options that we got that we are happy with. Other options. So we have the highest payload package. Yeah, Aaron, the dinosaurs on the dash are a Firefly reference. Naturally, you gotta give the salute. So the other major option that we got was the highest gross vehicle weight rating that Ford offers for the Ford Transit. So we have a weight rating in excess of 10,300 pounds. And so we were thinking about weight a lot throughout this entire process. And we didn't want to overload the vehicle. We didn't want it to be unsafe. But at the same time, we also wanted to take advantage of it. And we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to put a lot of stuff in here. And so this high weight rating that we got, it includes a heavy-duty front axle as well as dualies in the back. So not only do we have a high vehicle weight rating of 10,300 plus pounds, and right now we're only currently sitting at 8,300 pounds, so we're 2,000 pounds under the weight rating, which is great. So not only all of that is there, but it also gives us that those dualies are really nice to have. We like the dualies because as you're going down the interstate, you hit a rock, or if you got a screw in your last campsite and you're on the interstate, one of those 4 wheels in the back blows, not necessarily going to be an issue. I've read forum posts, people talking about blowing a tire out in one of their dualies on the interstate going like 70 miles an hour, and they had no idea. And while we want to know that, we also don't want to like have to drastically correct if and when that happens. So we like the dualies for that reason too. And something else that we noticed that we really liked is because we had that, I think it's because we had that higher weight rating, and that we have dualies in the back. I think the suspension is also adjusted because as we started loading stuff in, we're fairly back heavy, as we kind of have to be. But as you start loading stuff in the back, we didn't notice much sag. As you start loading out a vehicle, I think everybody's seen like those minivans driving down the interstate where it's some kid moving to college or a family moving, and it's just like this whole like minivans basically riding the asphalt. Like there's like that much space in the middle, in between the vehicle and the road. We didn't want that. And we noticed that as we loaded the vehicle down, it did not sag much. So we retain whatever height that we do have. And so that's been a blessing. That's been a good thing. And it's nice to know that we have a heavy duty front axle. I don't know if that's really doing as much good since we're not towing anything right now, but overbuilt, that's not bad. Other significant modifications or other significant options that we have in the Transit, we have cruise control, which is fantastic. I've loved that. That's been a huge difference. Chris Bell asked, what's the weight when you bought it empty? I don't have that information right offhand, but I can find on Ford's website where they'll tell you the weight of the vehicle empty with all of those options. So I'll do my best to find that information and let you know in the description. Again, because we had to shift videos, the description in this video is not, there's nothing in it yet. So I'll add all of this information at the end. But anyway, but that's a good question. What was it? What was the weight of it prior? Other options that we have. So we went with the 3.5 liter EcoBoost. Now, this is the point where I'm going to kind of start talking about why we went with a Transit over the ProMaster and the Sprinter, because the engine is a big reason why. So Ford has this 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine. That's the one that we have in our van. It's a powerful engine. Even though it's only 3.5 liters, it's meant to compress at a higher pressure. And so as we're, basically that engine can produce horsepower in excess of 300 horsepower. And for a vehicle of this size, going up hills and things, it has been so solid, so solid. Jeff, it's the cargo van. I mentioned that a little earlier, but for those of you that are coming in late because of my ridiculousness, that's the that's the reason why we have this weirdness. Tiffany's in the back, Sophie working on some stuff. But talking about the engines, it's that 3.5 liter EcoBoost that we were really interested in. It's a gasoline engine, and the reason why we liked that option over the larger engine that it had available, the EcoBoost tends to be a bit more better as far as fuel economy goes. It's been tested, so it's been in Ford trucks for a long time. People seem to like the engine. It's reviewed well, and there hasn't been a significant change in that engine between model years. So the difference in the 2019 engines versus 2020 engines are basically the same. That engine also has twin turbos. So it's a gasoline engine, 300 plus horsepower with twin turbos, and we can hear those spooling up as we're going up a hill, and it's just kind of nice to hear. But we like that a lot, and for all of you guys that are Sprinter guys, Tio, I know you guys are Sprinter people. Sprinters are amazing vehicles, but when we had every option in front of us and we were really looking at things that we wanted, and we were getting a new vehicle anyway, we felt like a gas engine would not the gas engine would really help us in terms of our know-how and our understanding we already have already. We didn't know much about diesel engines when we had the bus. We still don't know much about diesel engines. Gas engines, we don't know much about either, but at the very least, they're a little bit easier to wrap your mind around. And they can be serviced by more people. You don't have to necessarily find a diesel mechanic. And Ford dealerships are everywhere, everywhere. We go through small towns often, and we're always just like, oh, there's a Ford dealer, there's a Ford dealer. And that is a really kind of a nice comfort, because if something needed to happen, if we needed an emergency inspection or a repair, it's not going to be difficult to find a repair shop. We don't know how difficult it is finding repair shops for even diesel engines, honestly, because we never needed one. We never needed to repair the engine in the bus, but we always had it in the back of our heads, like, man, if this thing goes, I just don't know what we're gonna do. And so having a gas engine that's more serviceable by more people, that really improves peace of mind. And that was one of the things that we wanted most in moving from the bus to the van, is peace of mind, so we can enjoy doing the things that we wanted to do without having this thing in the back of our heads, like, I hope we can start the engine after we're done. I hope that we can go across the country and not spend a lot of money on a repair. And more money is going to be spent, on bus repairs, but even in terms of diesel and gas engines. What was the name of that site? It was
RepairPal.com.
So if you look at RepairPal.com, for example, it's a website that tracks the cost of ownership and maintenance over the course of a year. And if you look at if you compare a Mercedes Sprinter to the Transit, the Sprinter basically, according to them, costs double to maintain over the course of the year. So it was around $1,700 over the course of a year, whereas Transit was like roughly $800. So that's another thing. It's just in residual repairs and oil changes, we have heard that diesel engines, and have experienced it in the bus. We paid $400 for an oil change one time. That repairs and maintenance for a diesel engine do tend to be more pricey. And so that's another reason why we wanted to go with this gas engine. And so far, we've been really pleased with it. It has a ton of get up and go. As far as gas mileage goes, we're getting a solid 15 miles a gallon average. And that's averaged between city and highway. But it's not like, sorry, if I ignore some questions, it's just because I can't, my mind works one way, so you guys just bear with me. I'm sorry. So other options that we got in the van, we also have front fog lights, which is great. We've been loving that. And that's the other thing too, is that we have a warranty with a new vehicle, a brand new vehicle. So this, we have a 3-year engine warranty, 3-year bumper to bumper, 5-year powertrain warranty. And so, I mean, it's stuff like that. Like if you're able to get a new vehicle I mean, all of our eggs are in this basket. So we were okay with spending that money to get a newer vehicle with a warranty, with a totally clean slate that we're responsible for from the very beginning. And we intend to have this thing for a long time. We meant to be in the bus for a long time, but we felt like this was a better fit for us, and I think we're going to stick with this because this has been great. Yeah, Matt, it is the 2020 all-wheel drive. So let's talk about all-wheel drive for a second. So that's another thing when we were looking at Sprinters and Fords, because I would be okay with the diesel engine if we had 4x4, a true 4x4 capability with a Sprinter. That's huge, and we were really, I wanted that pretty bad. I'll be honest, but used Sprinters. They're, as you guys know, they're so expensive, especially if it's 4x4, and especially if it's already built out. There are Sprinters going for like $100K that have 100,000 miles on them, and it's just, I don't know, it just blew my mind. New, I think it was around 20,000, maybe a little less than that, but 20,000 more for a 4x4 Sprinter versus for a 2020 4x4 Sprinter versus a 2020 all-wheel drive Transit. So that kind of was a major contributor. The all-wheel drive in the Transit is not as beefy or as significant as a 4x4 Sprinter by any stretch of the imagination. We're not going rock crawling. We're not going to be going on crazy trails. But the all-wheel drive does give us the ability to get out of things like sand and ice and snow, be a bit safer on the road. I think we can go pretty far in the Transit, but I also don't want to go so far, bring my entire house and risk its integrity going off on some really crazy trails. And I mean, I have to think, like, I've driven a lot of 4x4 vehicles for fun and for work. And I just don't like the idea of taking a vehicle with a bunch of stuff, a bunch of cabinets and things inside. I mean, this vehicle is not built to be taken off-road. We didn't build it for that because that's not what we typically do. We'll go off-road, but we're going slow. And anyway, all of that to say that the 4x4 is not something that we wanted to have necessarily for trails, but we did want it to be able to get out of weird situations if we parked on a beach or got into some mud or something. So that's where the all-wheel drive of the Transit comes in. So we haven't had to use it yet. We haven't even been close, but winter's coming up, and I imagine that we're going to be using that all-wheel drive in the winter. So it's intelligent all-wheel drive, but what's a little bit different about it is that in the Transit, 100% of the power can be distributed to the front two wheels, and it's not just like only 70% is possible. It's 100% that's possible. So if your back wheels are spinning like crazy, the front wheels can typically get you out of whatever you're in. It's not perfect. It's not going to fix every situation, but it's not bad. We also got an optional 3.73 limited slip differential, and so that's going to help out as well. So it's actually, for not being a 4x4, it's got some pretty decent, off-road chops. It also has these mode buttons that you can get into because it's a brand new 2020 vehicle. There's a lot of computers inside, and it can really manipulate how it operates. And so one of the things that I have taken advantage of is that mud and rut mode. So by getting into mud and ruts, if the road has a lot of mud and ruts on it, it kind of keeps you at a slower speed. You have more manipulation over the gas engine, and or over the gas rather, and it's way easier to go down those roads. So I'm really enjoying that mode feature. We also have things like CarPlay and Bluetooth and all that stuff, which you can add later, but it's just nice to have it already in the vehicle, to be totally honest. Other things that we wanted to talk about, and if you guys, tell you what, I don't know how much of a lag there is. Go ahead and ask some questions, and I'm happy to answer them as best I can. While you guys are asking, while we're waiting for the lag, I'm gonna peek real quick into my notes and see what else we want to talk about. So Sophie asks if there's no diesel, do we have a heater? Or if we have, Rick asked basically the same question, do you have a tiny firebox in the bus to deal with cold nights? So currently, we have zero heating. That's going to change hopefully next week. We bought a Webasto, well, no, we haven't bought it yet. We have had a Webasto heater ordered for us. We're about to drive into Salt Lake City to pick it up. And we will probably also have it installed. We could probably do it, but it would take days, and we'd probably do it wrong and have to do it again. And you know, where we are right now, it's getting into the 30s at night, and it's fairly comfortable to sleep in. But it'll be nice to have a heater that is rolling, and we don't have to worry about so much. So the question was, though, with no diesel, can you have a gasoline or a diesel heater? And so Webasto has the TC, I think 2000, which is diesel or gasoline. And so straight into our extended fuel tank, which is another option. We have 31 gallons of fuel, but it goes straight into the auxiliary fuel port, and it can use gasoline. So that's going to be helpful. Chris asks, is condensation inside an issue for you? We have had zero issues with condensation. I think that largely comes from the fact that we tend to stay in like really dry climates. And because we don't have, let's see, sorry. Okay, so good questions coming in. So Eric asked if we've had any gross vehicle weight rating related issues in terms of titling and stuff. We have not. We have not even considered that it could be an issue, really. Hell, I said no more dry in Oregon. Yeah, we'll probably deal with condensation there. Yeah, weight has not been an issue. When we were in the bus and we were trying to get the bus titled from a school bus into a motorhome, that's when the weight rating became an issue. That's when we had to start thinking about those things. But even then, we were well under that weight rating as well. So the weight rating is really, regardless of what truly the vehicle is registered as, that's just a safe maximum. That's just, no matter what you're doing, if you have more weight in it than the gross vehicle weight rating, you're going to be in trouble. Most of the time, yeah, Wayne says 10,000 pounds only applies to commercial vehicles. Typically, yeah, you'll see. But although there are, like, if you're going over mountain passes, for example, Teton Pass in Wyoming, there's a weight limit for that pass after a certain time of the month, or time of the year, because it just gets cold and icy, and there's a huge liability. By the way, going over Teton Pass in the van, totally doable. In the bus, would have been a nightmare. Just saying. Is that weight the entire van, or what can you add to the stock van? So that weight rating is the entire van plus the stuff you put in it, as well as the tow. So if you're towing anything, that adds into the overall factor as well. To my understanding, if somebody smarter than me, which is probably everybody, is watching and has that information, go ahead and comment to correct that. Other questions. So yeah, as far as the heater goes, we do have that gasoline heater that we're hopefully getting installed this coming week. We're really pumped about it. We've heard amazing things about them, and so we can't wait to just be in here and just, if we have to open one of our fans to let the heat out, that's going to be huge. We wanted to have a wood stove in here, but we started calling around insurance companies and asked them point blank, like, hey guys, we have an RV. We would like to put a stove in it. Could you insure us for basic minimums to keep us on the road legally? Like, not even thinking about insuring anything in the vehicle, just basic minimums for liability. And they said, nope, not even close. So we're trading the amazing quaintness of a wood stove to the clinical efficiency of a Webasto, but we're okay with it. That's a great question. So I think it was Yikes asked us what, in fact, let me just see if I can, nope, shouldn't have done that. We just got asked by someone, sorry, if our lower water has been an issue, our lower water capacity has been an issue. It's been way more efficient. What am I saying? I'm reading like comments and I get screwed up. I'm terrible at this, guys. I'm sorry.
You're doing great.
Thanks, Deb. Water has not been an issue. We're so happy to have a system that is working better than we thought it was going to. So in the bus, we had 46 gallons, or no, 63 gallons of fresh water, which was a ton, and that would get us 2 weeks, no problem. We have 14 gallons of fresh now, so a little different. However, we can make that 14 stretch a full week, and if we have a water source nearby, we can filter that water from like a stream and stay basically indefinitely. We'll run out of other things before we run out of water if we have a water source. In the bus, that wasn't really, it was an option, but it wasn't a great one. We would rather go to an RV site, dump and fill, because it's so much volume. Whereas with the 14 gallons, we can filter that easily, and it's also way less of an impact to disperse that gray water because we're using all organic soaps and we're straining the dishwater and everything, and it's easier to disperse a single 7-gallon gray tank than dumping 67 gallons in the wild, which we never did and don't recommend anyone doing, of gray water. So with the stream and with the with all of that going, it's been good. So Bill asked, what filter do you use for water? Bill, we use it's a standard RV filter that you get at like Good Sam or Good Sam or RV World, Outdoor Camping World, Camping World. It's just those. So
You might be asking about the gravity filter.
oh, duh, sorry. Yeah, the gravity filter, we use a Platypus. It's the high flow gravity filter, so by Platypus. We've really liked it. It's great for a few liters. I think we're gonna look at a hand pump to be able to filter more volume. But for right now, this gravity filter from Platypus is great, and it's amazing for backpacking because it's only about that big rolled up. It's great. We've been asked how we're cooking in the van. So we're cooking by why don't I just pick up the phone and show you?
It might be a little laggy, but give it a shot.
Okay, let's just see how much of a disaster this is. All right, so this is our cooktop as I throw everything around. So it's just this is our induction. It's a Dux top. We plug that straight into the wall right there, and yeah, it's been fine. Our electrical system is more beefy than it was in the bus for sure. And I haven't cleaned the whole van. I was hiding some stuff behind my chair. Let's see. So we've been using, to answer the question, we've been using an induction cooktop, which is different from our Origo alcohol burning stove that we used in the bus. We like the Origo a lot, but it's great to be able to do everything essentially off solar. We are cooking off solar, we're charging our batteries, we're charging laptops, phones, everything, as well as now cooking from solar. So we're not having to look at denatured alcohol at like Ace Hardware or Lowe's or Home Depot or something. We don't have to think about that. That's something else also to store is that fuel, which in the bus wasn't a big deal, but in the van we're really running out of storage quickly. So we're enjoying that stovetop for sure. So let's see. Remind us again of how much battery storage we have. So we went with the Goal Zero Yeti 3000. It is another Yeti system. We were planning to build the battery bank out ourselves, but we saw that the Yeti now has the ability to be charged from the car battery or a car's alternator. And so we said, okay, we'll pay a little extra money for everything to be included in that. So that removes a huge learning curve as well as is already done safely. And we'll just wire that into a fuse block, which is what we did, and that's fuse block is how we power our lights, and every DC outlet that we have is being powered off of that fuse block. AC, the inverter in the Goal Zero is 1500 watts with a 3000 watt spike, or surge rather, and that is accommodating the stovetop no problem. So that's been good too. Talking about the van still, we went over gas mileage, the auxiliary ports. Oh, huge deal are these front swivel seats. Tiff's closing that curtain because our neighbors just got back and Frankie's gonna bark at him. So the front swivel seats are factory installed by Ford. We love that. We didn't have to install swivel seats ourselves. Not just the passenger, but also the driver seat is able to swivel. And that's that's our entire build. We can spend time in two spaces, the front seats and the bedroom. That's it. But these seats are really comfortable, which is great. We just got asked how much headroom does the height of the vehicle afford us. So I'm 5'8" on a good day, and I can, let's see, I can stand up in here without even thinking about ducking. And I've got, let's see, how to best demonstrate this. So that's, my right hand is directly over my head, right? That's another foot. I think the interior seating height is what, like 6'3" or something?
I don't know.
It's like 6'5" or 6'3" or something like that. The interior height, which is great. It really makes it feel like we're in a larger space. It gives us a little bit of a buffer. It feels like it makes being inside easier, which is good. But that's kind of the general overview. We did, so one thing I do want to mention too, we talked about Sprinters. Sprinters are amazing vehicles. They're exceptionally well engineered, and they look amazing, and I still kind of want one. But we did go with the Trans. We also looked at the ProMaster. The ProMasters are great vans. Dodge makes a really good van. The amazing thing about the ProMaster is the width. You can actually turn bed sideways. We have our bed long ways, but you can turn the bed sideways in a ProMaster. Big, huge deal. But the Ford can be taller and it can be longer. And we liked the engine options better in the Ford than we did the ProMaster. Also, the ProMaster doesn't have any all-wheel drive options, and you can't, to my understanding, you can't have anything retrofitted into the ProMaster because it's only front-wheel drive, which is kind of a different thing. In the past, you could get Ford Transits, new or used, that are rear-wheel drive only, but you could have them upfitted through like Quigley to be a proper 4x4. That's not an option in a ProMaster because of that front-wheel drive. So something to consider, certainly. And I think that was enough for us to say, again, having all options in front of us, we're going to go in this direction. There's something else about the ProMaster that I think is a little interesting, that because it's front wheel drive, that rear axle is super low. It seems like it's super low to the ground and it's super exposed. It's just kind of weird to me. So Sue asks if we are having issues with the dogs in the smaller space. I mean, yeah, it's unavoidable. I mean, Tuco's a big, huge animal, and Frankie's really annoying. But I'll keep going for it with my left hand and showing you my palm. So check this out. So that's Tuco in his bed, giving us all this floor space. And then Frankie is in our bed with Tiff. So I can get up and do whatever I need to. And very often, in fact, I'd almost say more often than not, they're just like that, which is great. So because of that space in the back where Tuco is, and because of Frankie, and because we spend a lot of time outside with the doors open, the dogs are less of an issue than we were afraid that they would be. Obviously, you know, with the bus, they're even less of an issue, but they're okay in here. It can be a challenge sometimes, but they're getting the hang of it. Okay, so Jeff is asking, can you talk about the choice of not having windows? So we actually do have windows. So we have a window in our side door. Our sliding side door on the passenger side, and we also have 2 windows in the very back of the van. So the doors that open like this, there are windows in those as well. I almost think that the windows that we got in the back of the van were unnecessary, because we have these window covers from Adventure Vinco in every window, and they stay in those rear windows pretty much all the time. So I think we could have probably not gotten the windows in the back. We do use them occasionally, though. It's nice to have. But that's the main gist of it. Other things, I had a whole bunch of stuff going, and then once the live video started, I just totally blanked, and I can't even get to my notes right now, so it's just a little ridiculous.
Mention the t-shirts.
Oh, right. So also, I will put the link to our shirts, which are available for another 10 hours. So if you guys watched our last video, we're doing a fundraiser for the Washington State Red Cross. We're selling t-shirts, and all of our profits are going straight to the Washington State Red Cross. We've sold almost 50 shirts, which is great. They're available for another like 10 hours or so. So thank you guys, for those of you that have purchased. Thank you so much for that. We really want to see if we can help those guys out at all over in Washington, and I mean, Oregon and California need it too, but we saw with our own eyes the places in Washington that needed the help, and so we're happy to do basically just the least we can do to help out there. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to put a link in the description below. But basically, it's Rolling Vistas on bonfire.com. I think that's the website. Just do a Google search for Bonfire. It's the t-shirt website. I'll throw a link up. But anyway, if you're interested, 10 more hours. Other things about the van that were important to us. So these swivel seats were huge, and again, I'm sitting in the driver, turned front ways for a nice light, but I can switch this guy around no problem.
How easy it is to drive, have you mentioned that?
I have not mentioned that. Thank you, Tiff. So
you're welcome.
another thing, yeah, but God, it's such a disaster.
No, you're doing great.
So the van, another reason why we went with this Transit over like a Sprinter is that from everything that we've heard, the Sprinter basically drives a bit like a larger vehicle, whereas the Transit drives more like a car. We never test drove a Sprinter. I was afraid I'd like it too much. But I can say with very high confidence that the Ford Transit does indeed drive like a car. It is very easy. It's so simple to forget, honestly, that there's that much of a vehicle behind you and above you, honestly. It just, when you're sitting in the cockpit like this, it's so, you just feel like you're in a sedan almost. It's just a little higher off the ground. So Tiffany driving it is no problem. Me driving it is no problem. Don't even have to think about it. It is adding absolutely zero to the stress of living in a van, which is great. You want to eliminate stress as much as you can. We're finding ways to do that. The van was one way to eliminate stress over a bus. And here we are. So not an issue to drive in the least. And that includes, again, like I mentioned before, driving over like mountain passes, taking hills. Like if I see a mountain pass coming, I get excited because like I know that we're going to be able to pull it, no problem. Whereas in the bus, I'd be sweating because I had the heater on in preparation to not allow the engine to overheat. But I'd also be just super nervous because I know that going in the bus, going up a hill, I was gonna drop everything. RPM was gonna go through the roof, and my speed was gonna go low, and the heat in the engine was gonna skyrocket. So that was a stressful thing, but in the van, it's not an issue, which is wonderful. We love that. Other questions that you guys have, let me know. I mean, live chats are weird. They're a different animal. I've been on for like 45 minutes now, but I feel like people are dropping in and coming in, dropping out, coming in. So I'm happy to go for a full hour. So you guys just, if you can stand an hour of me and you want to hang out, feel free. I'm just going to be here. This is what I have to do today. So, Bill asks, have you driven it in any sketchy weather yet? Bill, that's a wonderful question. We're not afraid. It does have the EcoBoost mat. While we were driving through, particularly Minnesota, we were driving through some really high winds, and with the the overall outside dimension is right at 10 feet roughly, and it's a high-profile vehicle, and we were like, all right, are we going to get blown all over the road? Ford actually, I don't know how it works, but Ford has a crosswind compensation, and I don't feel it working necessarily, but I do know that the amount of wind that was hitting the van would have treated our Isuzu Trooper way differently than it's treating the van. And that is to say that even the Trooper in those same kinds of winds I would be more all over the road. Where in the Transit, like, I very rarely have to correct for any wind gusts. So we've already driven it through some pretty hardcore wind, but that's about it so far. So let me see if I can get to some of these other questions that have been asked. There we go. Okay. So, if you ordered again, would you get the power seats and aftermarket swivels again? So, great question. I talked about this a little bit ago. These swivel seats, totally factory. Ford dropped these in themselves. And so we knew that we wanted front swivel seats, that we based our design off of front swivel seats. So for Ford to be able to install those in the factory, huge deal. And the chairs are surprisingly comfortable. Guys, I can't tell you, like, oh my gosh. The chairs are so comfortable. I drove 10 hours to get out of the wildfire in Washington, and a little sore, but 10 hours? In any other vehicle I've ever owned, I would be dying. These are easily the most comfortable chairs I've ever sat in a vehicle. Kind of a big deal, because they don't look it. I mean, they don't look like they're really nice, but they do. They are. Jeff says you're just used to the bus driver seat. That's very possible. Anything over that is a huge deal. Okay, so let's see. I'm really getting the hang of this chat. Okay. I'm just letting it all hang out with you guys, just being super real. I hope you're enjoying watching me squirm. So all that to say, we would order the swivel seats again for sure. They don't have any power though; it's all manual, so it's a little bit of a bummer. We did not test drive a ProMaster to compare Baby Dre photography. We ruled it out fairly early, and a nice driving experience wasn't going to change our minds, I don't think. Let's see. So we asked. So Authentic 13's asking what Tiffany's doing back there. She's got this illustration project that she's running up on a deadline for, and just doesn't have time for y'all, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
I'm a procrastinator, so it's due tomorrow. Sorry.
Yeah, it's due tomorrow. So, it looked like you were having a spiritual moment thinking about the seats. Let me tell you, Bill. Let me tell you, they are pretty comfortable. Because honestly, think about it. Think about it. Driving all the time, okay? And then once you've gotten to where you're going, it's not like we can in good conscience, run into like a coffee shop or something like we used to. So we have to continue sitting down to work, and either we'll sit outside, often we'll sit in the bed to change things up, but it's not too big a deal for me to drive for 3 hours, park, turn my chair around, whip the laptop out, and start working. I can't overstate how big a deal that is. If this chair were any kind of uncomfortable, it would be a huge blow, and we'd have to do something about it. We'd be getting pillows and all kinds of stuff to try to make it work out. So actually a great, the dark palazzo gray Ford Transit seats are great. You know, somebody asked a minute ago if we've had any issues with cops or anything checking on us. We've not once had a knock on our door. We stay in places where where people are typically allowed to stay. We don't camp in cities. Any camping, any boondocking is done on BLM land. And right now, fingers crossed it stays this way, the BLM land is open. Yeah, so hopefully it stays open. Let's see here. Gosh, sorry. How much of your time is spent planning and getting to your next location each month? Great build. Thanks, Wayne. So surprisingly, it depends. Surprisingly little if we don't have long-term plans. If we do have long-term plans, we could be planning to be somewhere for months. Typically, though, we really like to leave it open, and we'll kind of get to our maximum stay at a campsite, look at each other, and be like, "Well, where do you want to go now?" Again, as long as we have LTE or access to Wi-Fi, we can work, and as long as we don't have to be in a physical place to do a job, which does happen, but as long as that's not the case, then we're okay. Then we're good. I'm just giving you guys a great look at my fingers and my hand. Ugh. So bad. Let's see.
Have you talked about things we don't love about the transit?
Not really. Was that last night's dinner on your wrist? I don't eat bongo ties, but if somebody did, maybe. Would you ever consider putting a deck on top of the van? Is that something you're interested in? Helen, we are very interested in that, but we just don't have room left. We loved having a deck in the bus. We would sit up there fairly often, but we just have no room. We barely have enough room for solar panels. So, Rick says, we just became full-time campers. Nice, guys. And Wi-Fi seems to be an issue. What would you suggest? All right. Pro tip. You want Wi-Fi on the road? Definitely get a WeBoost. So it's this thing up here. Let's see. This is the not as pretty portion of the van. That's a WeBoost up there. God, I'm such a spaz. That WeBoost, and I'll put I'll put a link in the description.
What happened?
I don't know. I just can't do this. The WeBoost is seriously, we're using it right now. It will go from 1 bar of LTE to 3 or 4. Immediately when we flip the switch, if we're like kind of almost done loading something, we flip that switch, boom, page shows up. Like I would not believe that. If somebody said that to me before having used it, I wouldn't believe them for a second. Works. It seriously works. We'll do a video. We're planning to do a video about it because honestly, as far as our work setup goes, that's the most important thing. Like without that, and by the way, I would not invest in a Wi-Fi Ranger again, or a Sky Ranger, or whatever. What is it? I forget. We're not around Wi-Fi enough, even in the van. We're not around Wi-Fi enough to take advantage of it, and the signal it seems like it doesn't work great. So
yeah, so we rely on hotspots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys want to see so this is our view right now. That's a schmuck. This is our view of where we are in Idaho. And there's a nice little scamp over there. But look at these trees, guys. Like, look at that. The color, the fall color in Idaho. Like, what? Like, look at these reds. They're stunning. I took Tuco on a hike yesterday, and it was beautiful. Stunningly beautiful. I mean, we lived in Colorado for 4 years. We're used to aspens and yellows, and they're beautiful, true. But you know, when that's all you see all the time, like seeing reds and oranges and these deep colors, like, oh, it's fantastic. It's so October, you know, it's here. I just need a pumpkin spice latte. Yeah, I'm not gonna apologize for that either. How does the Wi-Fi that comes with the van work? That's a great question, Matt. So it is true, when with the 2020 transits, they do include like 3 months free of AT&T wireless. And so now it's not Elsa and Baron. I'd love to hang out with them, but it's not Elsa and Baron. Or if it is, then I have terrible eyesight, but it's not. What was I saying? Let's see here.
The included Wi-Fi, the AT&T.
Oh yeah. So AT&T, yeah, the van does come with 3 months of included AT&T Wi-Fi. We haven't activated it. We're kind of waiting for a time when we truly need it, like in an emergency, to get those 3 months free. And then if we wanted to, we can continue to pay. In our experience, though, you know, I mean, with the AT&T that comes with the van, it's really going to be only available while you're driving, and we don't really need it as much while we're driving. We need it while we're stationary. So, Sophie, yeah, no, I intend to. In fact, I recorded some yesterday, but we have been so busy and so whatever. I don't know. It's just been, we have videos that we want to make, we just haven't done it yet. Which is like the story of our entire channel. So thanks for watching anyway and being here. I think maybe Jeff asked if we have run into, Bill asked if we're running into any COVID-related issues. The only COVID-related issue that we've run into is people not taking it seriously. Being totally real, we drive through a lot of rural areas, and it's just, people don't think it's a problem, and we mask up every time we head out. Anytime we go to a store, we mask up, because the last thing we would ever want to do is to infect, if we had it and not know it. The last thing we would ever want to do is infect a small place or whatever. And so we're very mindful of where we're going, the rate of infection, where we're going. God, these words, listen to me talking about this. How bizarre. So those have been the issues, but nothing has been closed, really. So, and all of the campgrounds have been opened, but I understood that earlier in the year when we were not on the road, lots of BLM and lots of campgrounds were closed, and that just, that freaked us out a little bit. TR, a friend of ours, was running into that, and he was staying in Arizona, and in the one spot that he was in, he just had to stay there because everywhere else was closed, and they would honor what he had already paid for. So, you know, we're concerned about that come winter. We don't know if campgrounds are going to stay open, if BLM is going to be closed, because we're not going to fight. Like if somebody's kicking us off BLM, if local law enforcement's saying you guys can't be here, then we're going to leave. We're not going to put up that fight. But we've kind of been treating it like we're going to we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right now, travel is good, as long as you're being, you know, as long as you're being responsible. So yeah, no huge COVID-related issues. And, you know, again, if we were camping in cities, if we were doing that kind of stuff, we'd probably see more of a difference. But because we stay away from people anyway, we like being alone, we like being outside. So those are fortunately some of the better places that you can be while this is happening. So that's cool. Whatever, let's just keep this thing going. Why not? I don't know. I'm having fun. I kind of settled into it. I've accepted that this is sort of awful. And if you have too, then just be awful together. What else, guys? Ask some questions. I know you're asking some questions. I'm just talking. I can't can't even respond. Yeah, Wayne, we fully intend to show a lot of the scenery and be in some really cool places. We're excited to be back in the desert this winter. We have missed the desert, and so we fully expect to spend a lot of time in the Southwest. Lots of images that need to be taken down there for sure. But we've really enjoyed being in, when we were in Washington for a little while, we loved that. We're loving being in Idaho and being around this beautiful, beautiful fall color, which we did not expect in the least. Aaron, thanks. Yeah, the drone video was a fun one to put together. That place is magical, and I'll probably be doing some more of that this year. Schoolie Palooza? I don't know. We'll see. We don't have plans to attend right now, but Aaron, we want to go to Seattle for sure. We were gonna drive through a few weeks ago, but the state caught on fire. Yeah, I know, Jeff. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, but being on the road has been for the most part good. Stressful sometimes when you're not talking to people like face to face. We were able to meet up with Stu the bus. I call them Stu. The name of their bus is Stu. Kat and Aaron of Stu the bus. We were able to hang out with at this campsite. Actually, we had a great time, and we were able to spend some time with TR recently. Again, people, we like spending time with people that just do this too, and totally are on the same page. Also, when it comes to the virus, and so knowing that they're staying safe, that gives us some confidence, and I don't know. It's such a weird thing, guys. But the isolation and not being around people, and then seeing all this stuff happen in the news, it gets really disheartening sometimes. And we can look outside and forget about it for a minute, but it still stays there in the back of your head. I don't even know how to talk about it, so I won't. But anyway, let's see what else we have here. Will we see a van tour soon? No, you haven't missed it. Van tour is coming. It is. So we wanted to give ourselves time to get the van livable and understand where certain things needed to be. The more things that we use, the things that we use more often, we need to know like where to keep them so that we can access them quickly. Some of our storage is not finalized yet. So we kind of want everything to be perfect before we do that van tour, that van tour video. So, but it is coming. You haven't missed it. Sue asks, food storage, how much can you store enough for a week? We can easily store a week's worth of food. It depends on what we want to have. JC Stewart says, hi from Barcelona. Wow, that's ways away. Thanks for being here. The food, sorry, if we pack a lot of dry foods, we could last a really long time. But we use the same fridge that we used in the bus, and so, and it's a top loader. We love the top loader. We feel like we can fit more stuff in there because you can actually take advantage of more vertical space. So you're in England, man, geez, such an international group. This is great. I love it. So we can really be anywhere for almost as long as we want. Trash becomes an issue. Trash is actually the thing that gets us in trouble more often than not, and why we have to leave and come back to a campsite, because we've gotta get rid of the trash from like food packaging. We buy a lot of raw food, but even the dry goods though come with this packaging that is you just have to deal with. Wine comes in boxes, you got to deal with those boxes. Beer comes in cans, you got to deal with those cans. Just the way it is. And we don't have a big trash can, but we have had some solutions, which we'll get into at some point later. I think we have more people coming in, so I'll continue, I guess. I don't know. Um, at this point, like filming a video, I'd be like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But now it's okay. SCAD represent, Eric says, fixing up a T1N right now. Looking forward to finally getting going. Just wanted to say hi. Yeah, dude. SCAD represent. Um, we don't run into too many SCAD grads, so that's cool. So I talked about water a little bit earlier, and without going over everything again, we have 14 gallons of fresh now, where we used to have 63. And but if we stay, that'll get us a week. But if we're around a water source, we can filter it and stay indefinitely. So water, and we've had water sources at almost every campsite that we've been at least in this area. So that's huge. Insulation, Jeff. So we did not go with spray foam this time. We used mostly rock wool. Honestly, we kind of used 4 kinds of insulation. We used rock wool, we used Reflectix with an air gap, and we also used a little bit of Thinsulate. We did not, a lot of people will insulate their entire van with Thinsulate, and I'm saying Thinsulate. It's a great product, but it's pretty expensive, and we felt like the rock wool would do a good job too, so we kind of mixed and matched. Seems to be working well though. We'll really see once we get the heater in. Again, hopefully next week, this gasoline heater comes in and gets installed. And if that's the case, who knows where we'll winter. If we don't get this thing properly working, we're going to be hanging out in Arizona. But if we can actually get this heater working properly, we'll camp in Colorado, we'll camp in New Mexico, we'll camp in Idaho. Let's do it up. I'm excited for the winter to come, actually, as long as we get this heater in. That's the only caveat. Let's see. So what else you guys got going on? How are you enjoying your fantastic fans? To Connect 2000s asks. So our Max fans, we don't have fantastic fans. We have 2 Max fans. They're fantastic, which is a pun from the Fantastic Fan. Just awful. We love our Max fans. We can have, if it's raining out, we can close up, have one fan pull air in while another air fan pulls air out, so it's just circulating. Both come out, both pull in. I'm trying to be like the wind whisperer, where I'm trying to figure out the best way and fan working to cool off really effectively, to maintain and to increase heat, whatever it is. So that's the so far they've been great. We love them. Helen asks, where are you installing the heater in the van? So the heater's gonna get installed under the passenger seat. Weirdly, in all of these vans, it seems like the passenger van is built up with an empty section underneath it. I don't know why that is, but it's great for installing heaters, and so that's where we're going to be installing this one, unless we're not installing it, we're having it installed. So if they say that it can't go there, then we'll figure something else out, but that's why we're set. Wayne, dude, yes. Okay, so this is the thing that really was pushing my buttons as far as the Webasto goes. So Wayne indicated that, there's a high altitude issue with Webasto heaters, or really any gasoline heater or diesel heater. There's less oxygen in higher altitudes, and so the air can't mix to properly combust, and there's a lot of, I don't know what it would be called, but there's a lot of buildup that happens because it's not burning as cleanly. And so that is something that we're really going to have to keep an eye on. I don't know. We'll have to look at the limits. We're going to try it regardless, no matter where we are, but we are aware of that. And so it's just something we're going to have to juggle a little bit. But we'll see what happens. Really excited to try it out though. Yurga, is that right? From Lithuania. That's very sweet of you. No kids though, just dogs. Jeff, you run the Chinese diesel at 7K all day long, no tuning change. Man, that's impressive. It seems like the Chinese heaters are actually really good too. Is your jack under the passenger seat? So it is. It's like on. It's not under the seat. It is under the seat, but it's like in like a compartment. So it's not. It shouldn't. It's like in a side compartment, so it really shouldn't affect it too badly. Um, are you giggling in the background? Somebody noticed that you were giggling at me or something, or
a few times,
a
maybe.
few times. I'm sure. Yeah, it's so funny. Um, Quick question: did you repurpose any of the wood? Yes. So and we'll show this in the tour and in other videos, but we actually have a fair amount of counter space in the van. We wanted to have as much surface area to place things as we could have, and the wood that we used for our countertops is actually barn wood from a barn that's been in my family for around 100 years. And so we were able to take some of that, sand it down, finish it again, and it really came out beautifully. I love our countertops. They have so we built it in the humidity of North Carolina in the summer, and after coming out west, we expected, the wood to lose some of that hydration and warp a little bit, and that has happened, but it's not bad. It's still fully usable, and it's still set. I don't know how we're gonna fix it if we even will, but that's we repurposed that. We also some of our handles. This is my handle pantomime. Our handles on our cabinets are just pieces of wood that we found walking around in North Carolina, so that's kind of cool. The wood in the ceiling and in the walls, that's tongue and groove cedar, and it's really thin. It weighs very little. So we had tongue and groove pine in the bus, where we drilled directly into the bus ribs. This time we used furring strips, and the tongue and groove cedar just is screwed into those furring strips. Let's see. Eric asked, "Do we have a shower?" Wife thinks it's necessary. We don't have a shower. Sort of. We have what's called a rinse kit. Rinse kit is basically I forget how many gallons it is, but it's basically a tub that can be pressurized either from a city faucet or by manually pumping it. And so what that'll do, that'll pressurize the water. It has like a standard shower head, like you were gardening or something, and just we've used it several times, and it has helped us stay out of public showers, which we don't want to do a ton of right now. We've been taking advantage of rivers and creeks to try to clean up, but obviously that's going to stop come wintertime. And so we're going to be relying on it more. Fortunately, it does have a heating rod, so that'll heat that water up in the rinse kit, and then you can take that out, pressurize it, and then have a hot shower. We haven't used that feature yet, but it's good to know that it's in the background for sure. International hand signal for cabinet. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. So we don't think that a shower is necessary because we're comfortable with cleaning ourselves like that. Some people aren't, and that's cool. Everybody's different. Everybody has creature comforts that are non-negotiable. We have some too, and but that's just as far as we're concerned. And also, since we spend a lot of time in drier climates, we can go without showering. And guys, I mean, it's just the way it is. We can go without showering for a while, and in the southeast where we're from, you go outside in the summer, you immediately want to shower, even though you just took one. Here, you can go for a shower, you can feel clean for way, way longer, and so that we're enjoying that. But it's getting to be time again, for sure. What else? What other questions do you guys have? Let's see. Let's not deal with that. Yeah, so for those of you that are running Chinese like diesel heaters or any diesel heater at all in a van or a bus, what's that like? Tell me how that is, how easy it is to use and stuff. I'm really excited about using it. I hope it works the way I expect it to. We shall see. Let's see. You guys are in England. That's great. Wayne the Poet, electrical heating. We just don't have. We just don't have the. Let's see. We just don't have the battery capacity for heating the van via electric. Using the stovetop to boil some water for coffee, we lose about anywhere from 1 to 3% of our battery storage. And so if we were trying to, heat's a big thing for electrical to do. It's that efficiency is just not there. So we're not using electrical for heat at all. Eric wanted to know where to get your t-shirts from the address of your website. So I wonder if I can, I don't think I can I type something? I don't think I can type anything. This probably needs to end soon. Shut up. I'll put, as soon as this video is over, I'll put a link to the shirts in the description. For those that are just joining, we're doing a t-shirt fundraiser for the Washington State Red Cross. And so Bonfire works on limited runs that are only available for a limited time. And it ends tonight, I think at 10 o'clock. So you have a few hours left to get those shirts if you guys want to support that. We really like the design, the Vancel Adams design. We think that's pretty cool. So we've ordered ours. We can't wait to get them. And it's good for the Red Cross too, because those guys need help up there. I think so. I'm a bit frazzled just because I suck at this so much. So I'm gonna probably call it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I am gonna include that link in the description below. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for dealing with the weirdness of this live chat. We'll try to be better next time. In the meantime, you guys stay safe, take care of each other, and we will see you in the next video. All right? We'll do this more often too, but yeah.
I was waving by. I thought you were about to.
No, I know. I was just acknowledging that you did that.
Are you waving back at me?
Hi.
Hi, Tim.
All right. You guys stay safe. Be well. Take it easy. Bye. How do I stop this? Oh, God. I don't know how to stop it. This is just our lives for the rest of the day. Okay, there we go. Okay, bye.